dependents, who are for the most part the material of the future growth of the immigrant descended population. It is like watching a nation busily engaged in heaping up its own funeral pyre.
Disturbed by the speed and scale of change, Powell quoted government statistics which predicted, quite accurately as it turned out, that by the year 2000 there would be between 5 and 7 million immigrants, accounting for 1/10 of Britain's population. It was, Powell claimed, a total transformation to which there is no parallel in English history.
This perpendicular window is late 14th, early 15th century.
England was at the heart of his thinking. Almost a mystical, romantic, religious view of England. And many people had this, people even on the left. So to be a nationalist is perfectly all right, and this is the kind of view that Enoch Powell was taking. He was an English nationalist.
The unique culture and civilization of Powell's beloved country were being transformed against his wishes by mass migration. The change was particularly marked in urban areas like his own constituency of Wolverhampton South West.
It almost passes belief that at this moment, 20 to 30 additional immigrant children are arriving from overseas in Wolverhampton alone every week. And that means 15 or 20 additional families a decade or so hence.
Immigration was certainly changing parts of the West Midlands. It was changing the constituency that I represented. My constituency was predominantly Irish in its urban parts when I first became Member of Parliament, and gradually the Irish moved out into the suburbs, and immigrants, mostly from Kashmir, moved in. And there were areas where it was visibly different, where what had been Anglican churches became mosques.
Black and Asian people moved into space that had been thought of as working class areas. And, you know, one mustn't imagine that Englishness is only a property of the middle classes. There was a distinctive sense of what working class community was like.
My football on a Saturday, roast beef on Sundays. All right, I go to Blackpool for my holiday, sit in the open sunlight.
It had its own traditions, its own culture. It had a very distinctively English character.
We will not keep Britain, keep it white as it should be.
We feel we're being outnumbered, and the policy of this country now is to integrate. Well, if the coloured people are going to be allowed to form communities, how can integration take place?
The British people had never been consulted on the unprecedented transformation taking place in their country. The speed and scale of immigration made many feel uneasy. Familiar neighbourhoods were being changed forever. Some white British people also believed they were becoming second-class citizens in their own country. Much of Powell's speech was not recorded. The following extract is read by an actor.
They found their wives unable to obtain hospital beds in childbirth, their children unable to obtain school places, their homes and neighborhoods changed beyond recognition. They began to hear, as time went by, more and more voices which told them that they were now the unwanted.
I walked the streets with my wife and 3 children. We had nowhere to go. We spent a week at her mother's, a week at her sister's, nowhere at all to go. And eventually we found a place, a very dilapidated place, we're still living, It's 100 years old, the roof leaks, it's no good in this day and age for people living. And when I look out of my back window, there's blocks of flats and masonettes with black people in. I think that's wrong. I think that the ex-servicemen should get preference in this country and preference to these people.
Powell believed that the discrimination his countrymen complained of was about to be made far worse by new legislation which the Labour government was proposing.
I can't let you in. I've got 14 English boys in here.
14 English boys? So you don't want...
I can't mix. I'm ever so sorry, I would myself, but if I let you come in, all my boys would leave.
A new race relations bill would make it illegal to refuse housing, employment or public services to people because of their ethnic background. The legislation was meant to stop the victimization of immigrants, but Powell believed it would result in the victimization of whites instead.
His criticism is very clear. This is going to mean that Commonwealth immigrants, meaning blacks and Asians, will be privileged over the locals, because you would not be able to sack them, you would not be allowed to talk about them in a certain language on grounds of being politically incorrect and so on. And secondly, it is going to curtail the individual's freedom to discriminate against whoever he wants.
The discrimination and the deprivation, the sense of alarm and of resentment lie not with the immigrant population, but with those